What you watching?
Next up on Mostly Superheroes, the podcast, DC Universe is here with James Gunn at the helm, doing his thing now with Creature Commandos with weekly drops, an animated series on Max, streaming on Max, and the first in the DCU, which is really exciting. But now we're also counting down to Superman. We've talked about the trailer on this podcast. That movie's coming July 11th, 2025. The countdown is on. But in the meantime, Scotty Scoop and me, your host Logan, are here on December 27th, a Friday, talking about really a mid-season check-in for Creature Commandos. Episode 5 just dropped. We've watched it. Scotty's completely caught up. I'm caught up. Spoiler alert for the series as we're going to get into where are we with only a couple episodes. I've done
2 episodes.
2 episodes left. Been really cool to get to know each character in each episode. He's doing his thing, that style, like setting up the backstory, giving us more about the Weasel, about Frankenstein, GI Robot story, just really cool. And that current story though, right, with them in the this country and protecting this princess, and the Mascara is the bad guy, and you got like this bad version of Wonder Woman that has like psychic powers essentially, and hearsay. What? Circe.
Yeah.
Yes, Circe. Like okay, like and like it's almost like, man, I'm really enjoying these origin stories. The main story is kind of in the back burner, but you kind of get to see it all come to a head. James has done a good job with that, like show you something from the past and then show you something from right now, and it kind of all comes together in some kind of moment, right? So let's get into it. We've given the spoiler alert. The few episodes we got, like, it's pretty much just like backstory town where you get to meet these folks, and right, they have the Frankenstein, who was made by Dr. Frankenstein, right? Makes this giant monster voiced by David Harbour, and then he makes a bride for her. That's the bride that we know here, and it's just this messy relationship where he's essentially been chasing her ever since he found out she was hooking up with, dating Dr. Frankenstein. So the monster, I don't know, is that what he's called? The monster?
Frank. They call him Frank.
They call him Frank, right? So like the monster Frank, he sees this, and it starts this like centuries long feud where like he's chasing her. She's trying to kill him, but she's also just actually running away from him because she's like, this guy's a killer. He killed my boyfriend. And he's just like, I love her. I really love her, and I need to find her.
She was made for me.
Made for me. So you get that backstory. And then this episode that's fresh, I mean, we see like, after she beat the hell out of him, he like ended up in a river, and this old lady, this sweet old blind lady, and a dog take him in, nurse him to health. They become like this sweet family. And then he decides he's going to leave and go find his wife, and murders the old lady.
Yeah.
Like it was like tragic, sad, and like dark comedy for sure.
Yeah. Something that James is doing very, very well.
Right. Yeah. He can pull off like that humor where you're like just laughing, like, what in the world? This guy is sick. He's really sick and a monster. And then the Weasel, we get that callback to the Suicide Squad, James Gunn Suicide Squad, where we meet the Weasel. Oh, he killed 27 kids. This like one line from Rick Flag is now like this whole thing's backstory, played by Sean Gunn. And we get the scenes of like, how did this go down? And the Weasel, we don't get like necessarily like his origin. Like we didn't see.
Yeah. Like, is he a person? Is he a weasel?
According to his lawyer.
Like, what happened? What happened here?
According to his lawyer, he is a human man.
Right.
He is a lawyer that's advocating like a civil rights, lawyer that's like, hey, this guy deserves a fair chance. And the flashback is like him meeting these young kids are like in this kind of like impoverished area, and it's not at all what we've been told. He was actually just playing with these kids. Someone calls it in, like, there's a werewolf down here.
Yeah.
The cops come, and like
a guy collecting mushrooms in the woods,
and he's like, oh, he's looking in the window, and he's like, oh dear God, the wolf.
He's attacking these children.
He's literally just like playing, like so sweet, and like all the kids love him, but it was the kids' fault, right? The kids broke in. They break into this school. They start playing with stuff they shouldn't be playing with. And then the cops come, start shooting. It's a big fire, and they like end up shooting the Weasel down while he's trying to save the last little kid that survived the explosion. And this was graphic. These young kids are dead.
Yeah.
and they're dying.
Burning alive, you know,
Oh my
getting shot, giant explosion, boiler explodes.
Yes. So that's the
Yeah.
real backstory. That's the real story of the Weasel. But we know the Weasel's tough and can fight, so we've seen some of that. And then GI Robot's whole thing was kill Nazis. He was a robot designed to kill Nazis, and that's what he does. That's what he's always done. He got brought back to life by a collector that turned out to be a Nazi. So when he took him to
Turned
his
out to
Nazi,
be a Nazi. When he took him to that meeting
yeah.
and I started seeing the tattoos on the guys, I was like, "Oh, they're Nazis. This is going to be hilarious."
Hey, I'll tell you how good I'm getting at this. The moment that they jumped us to that time period and the guy was like, "Yeah, I'll take him," I was like, "This guy's a Nazi." Like he's
Yeah.
gonna like because that's all he says is like, "Could we kill Nazis now? Hey, Mr. Flag, can we kill Nazis yet?"
Yeah.
Like,
Are there any Nazis in here? And finally, he got his wish. Like, are these people Nazis? Yeah, GI Robot. They're Nazis. And he just goes off
yeah. So at the Nazi meeting, he goes off, and that's why he gets arrested. And then in present day, he goes off and saves like the whole crew essentially.
until Circe
Oh,
destroys him.
and that was yeah, and then he exactly R.I.P.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I'm
you're,
like,
you're now
pick
he's
up his
dead.
pieces and put them back together. They better put GI Robot back together
He
by the end of this season,
right.
or we riot.
I think that's part of it, right? Like, I mean, his head was still alive for a minute, then it died, so I feel like he'll
Yeah.
be okay.
Yeah.
And then story-wise, like, I mean, those are the big introductions. You know, this General Flag is Rick Flag's dad, and he ends up hooking up with the princess that they're protecting. But now we've discovered, oh, who do we get from Peacemaker in this show? Not just Amanda Waller, but the big guy with the glasses.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember his
It's a
name.
weird name. Steve
AG?
Agee playing John
Economos. Yeah, that's what it is.
is in this, and you know, they through their research of like being a part of this dark organization, the princess they've identified the princess as the threat, and they have to kill her. Do you know more about what's going on here?
Absolutely no clue.
Okay. So it's not just me. Okay, see, like this part's a little messy. All right, it's like she's got
Yeah.
it's this country you don't know. She's a princess played by the girl that played the rat catcher too. She plays the princess's voice, and she's got this elite like squad of protectors with kind of like upgraded looking tech, but the creature
But like
commandos,
still knights.
and it's all a contract with Amanda Waller and the U.S. government to team up with creature commandos to protect the princess at first from the Mascara, because the Mascara, Circe, is the bad guy, right? Like that's the bad guy. But then Circe lays it on Amanda Waller with a psychic vision of the future and says, look, if you don't kill this princess, this is what'll happen. And we had this crazy vision of dead Batman, dead Peacemaker, dead Superman, like all these DC
Well,
characters
yeah, Wonder Woman,
just
everybody.
dead, like very much like, you know, a Age of Ultron style, like flash forward vision of like everybody's dead. And so through that, she's like, okay, I believe Circe, and we got to kill the princess, and like that's where we're at. The episode ended, this last episode 5, with princess is alive. They got close. It was a major battle with everybody, and then that was it. I don't even.
Yeah,
We're still
that was pretty much it.
TBD on like these next 2 episodes of like where it's going to end, like things that they have.
No, Rick Flag is with Frank.
Rick Flag and yeah.
Rick Flag is doing everything he can
Okay, there it is.
to prove that you know, the princess is not a bad person.
Right, and they
And
fight.
Frank is doing all he can to get Rick Flag to tell the bride that he's a good person, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we almost missed this whole amazing part where they like hunt down the teacher that's teaching about the Mascara, but it's a clone. The real one's dead. Oh,
Clayface.
Clayface.
Yeah,
I think this is Alan Tudyk.
it is Alan Tudyk, yes.
And Clayface, like from the original Batman show, and I think he also like does it in the Harley Quinn show.
The Harley Quinn show, yeah, Alan Tudyk voices him in the Harley Quinn show as well.
This was a bonkers fight scene in this house, and he ends up like just breaking Flag's back.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe the end of the episode, Flag is dead.
Yeah, he's not dead. They're gonna have to fix him. I was thinking, I was like, you can't kill this guy now too. Like,
Right. But I mean, they're the Suicide Squad.
well, they're creature commandos,
Well,
right? It's just
they're Creature Commandos, but it's
a rebrand.
it's the Suicide Squad for non-humans, basically.
You know what's really exciting is this show, like, it's fun, and season 2 of Peacemaker is wrapped filming, so it's fun to think about who he's jumped over to that show from this one, and that starts to become really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, because they said they're using or try at least trying to use the same actors as the voice actors
Yeah,
to
That's what
go
Sean told
back and
us.
forth. So
Yeah, Sean told us that, and, like, What If has got me thinking, like, what if and Marvel are, like, they're just taking a page out of DC's book, I think, and, like, also, they were already on this path of, eliminate the multiverse type stories, and I've heard stuff like they wanna start doing more Elseworlds and focused stories, like, DC and James has said out loud that, like, DC is that's, like, their whole methodology to, like, how he's approaching the DCU, that everything can exist on its own, maybe it'll connect. But then when you start doing this, though, I'm like, damn, I want to see this Frank Grillo, live action.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I would love Alan Tudyk as a real life Dr. Phosphorus.
Dr. Phosphorus, we didn't even talk about him. We still need his origin story.
It's the next episode, I believe.
I mean, he has some gruesome kill scenes in this show.
Oh yeah, where he stepped on that guy's
He
face.
just melts him.
Yeah.
And he's like,
You know, put his hand on Circe's face
oh
and
my,
just burned it.
yeah, he seems like really sadistic.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we'll probably find out that it's the opposite of that. And he's like, we can't see his face. So he's probably like always crying when he's like killing people. And we just don't know. All right, couple left. Creature Commandos. James Gunn DCU is here, and we'll just we'll talk about it when the finale's done, or we'll check in. I mean, these are weekly, so these are coming out weekly on Max, and we'll keep talking about it on Mostly Superheroes. Mostly Superheroes is proud to be funded in part by our sponsors. Mostly Superheroes is funded in part by paying patrons who receive early, ad-free, and exclusive episodes. Subscribe at mostlysuperheroes.com/support. Thank you for supporting your favorite independent podcast. Mostly Superheroes is an independent podcast owned and operated by Carrogan Ventures in St. Louis, Missouri. Hosted by Logan Janis, Andy Hunn, and Scott Swearingen. Brand and creative by Carrie Clark Design. Music by Audionautics. Learn more at audionautics.com. Find more at mostlysuperheroes.com.